All right, have not fans, and we're going to milk this Warlock and Quincy Maxwell train as long as we can. And yeah, I do have a lot more what if videos on the way. I mean, I can't argue with the results. The views are actually pretty decent, but in this video, it's just a simple discussion as to who was the bigger villain. And no, Veronica Harrington doesn't count. We're talking Warlock and Quincy specifically. It is tough. I was talking with Chandler about, I know the other night we had a 2-hour discussion. Yeah, we will do a live stream soon. But the thing is, because me and him were joking about it every time we're doing a live stream. But I feel like when we talk about specific things, specific things, it's like the live stream cuts off. And no matter how hard we try, it won't get back up. I feel like, somebody's listening and then they want to, pull the plug on us. So we swapped options to just, talking in a different format. And I ain't saying what it is because the system might find that and then try to break up the conversation. But in any case, it was a pretty decent discussion, but I don't know, because I think we even threw Charles into the equation in terms of, like Charles is the most powerful enemy if you push him that far. I think, and I'm going to be honest here, I don't even remember what I said in terms of the conversation I had with Chandler because it got in depth there. I think that in terms of the shock value, I think Quincy is the biggest villain, but then Warlock is like, if you get on his bad side, I feel like with Quincy, he is who he is 24/7. Like with Warlock, he's like, if you're cool with him, if you don't cross him, then you're good, which in a way makes Warlock and Candace very similar because right after Jeffrey had moved into the apartment with Amanda and Candace after he came out to his parents, he and Candace had a discussion later that night in regards to the fact that you say you fear nothing, which means you don't love anything, which is a scary and sad thought. And it's like, oh yeah, you say you care about your brother, but that may be true, but anybody else in your life, they're kind of just there just for you to use them. I mean, as soon as you're done with them, as soon as they've run their course of being useful, you just toss them to the side. But heaven forbid, if you feel like any of them crossed you or did you wrong, you will utterly destroy them. Warlock is pretty much the same way. He's pretty much the same way. But with Quincy, once again, he is who he is. I mean, when it came to like physically, being violent with Candace, Quita was like, man, he only do that because he love you. Like, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. You sound so stupid right now, Quita. And I think that's what Candace said to her in jail before she beat her. But what I'm saying is, I think that Warlock kind of like Charles, he became a villain. But he has way more resources than Quincy because remember, Quincy had just gotten out of jail and, his territory and whatnot was being run by his sister, which, I don't think was doing very well. But in any case, it was still standing. But obviously, I think Warlock and his crew probably had more, of a hold within Savannah, not counting the Malones. That's an entirely different monster in itself. But I think that the factor is Quincy just struck a nerve in Candace where even the very mention of his name was enough to just make her drop everything and leave. There were two noticeable scenes of this. The first one that comes to mind, this is after Candace was released by the Malones and she got back to her apartment and there was nothing there because Jim had it cleaned out. I think at the point, if I'm not mistaken, she had already contacted Warlock and, if I'm not mistaken, asked for $5,000, and then she said, hey, help me get Jim Cryer, I'll give you $100,000. So at this point she had like a mattress on the floor, a little TV, a phone, and maybe a couple different outfits, and that was it. But she called Amanda, who, remember, was at her parents' house at this time, and then Quincy had already been there. They talked and everything, and in any case, Amanda brought up the fact that, oh, you're back at the apartment? Well, Quincy's looking for you. Do you want me to tell him where you are? No, don't do that. Then they get off the phone, and then Candace books it. She never goes back, and we never see that apartment again. So then we go back to, well, not to mention, the fact that she wasn't in control of Amanda. She could literally tell by over the phone that Amanda wasn't stable, and then she could just blurt out that, hey, Candace is back at the apartment at any time. So then we fast forward to when Quincy Jr. was found in the hospital, and Oscar and Candace had gone from New York back to Savannah to see Quincy Jr. And by doing that, we were in a position where Candace was like seconds away from claiming custody of her son, and then Aaliyah, the social worker, mentioned that, oh, the child's father was here, and yeah, he caused a fuss, and we have security watching it, so he'll never come back. So then Candace just books it. Once again, just hearing Quincy's name was enough to send her booking, and then I believe Aaliyah's boss was there. And it's like, is that the boy's mother? Yeah, and it's like Quincy Jr. wanted to see her, and she just up and left. I'm really thinking we should give custody to the grandmother. So basically, if Candace did not leave, she may have, well, it's all but confirmed she would have got custody of her son. So just the mere mention of Quincy's name is enough to send a chill down her in her body. Not to mention, police were there to make sure Quincy wasn't coming back, but just hearing the fact that Quincy was in a place where she's standing at, she had to book it. So in terms of just pure fear and intimidation, I think Quincy wins that round. Warlock is a different case because of the fact that whenever he was around, Candace was like helpless. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, when you think about it, Candace was about to die unless Jeffrey came in to save her from Quincy. Because when Quincy came out from behind the door wherever he was and threw Oscar off of Candace and was choking her to death, he would have succeeded had not Jeffrey come in and, ended up stabbing him until he passed out. I mean, Warlock literally cost Candace a lot of pain. Killed her son and made her take out $2 million from the bank, and then that led to the foreclosure and everything because Erica's documents that she got from Candace were forged. Of course they were, because she knew that, with Benny's signature. I mean, there's so many things to dissect. I mean, Quincy destroyed her mother's house, and Warlock was threatening to kill her brother if she didn't pay up. But when you think about it, Warlock and his crew took the Malones to take him down. So that's one factor. I feel like it goes back to what Maggie Day suggested to Veronica and Catherine when she was the one that said, hey, get Quincy Maxwell out of jail. She didn't want anything to ruin Jim and David's chance of winning the governor's mansion, so they had to get Candace out of the picture. How do you get rid of one dog? You send a bigger one after him. That's why Quincy was released from jail. Candace was dealt with or distracted. Warlock was supposed to be the anti-Quincy, someone who was from the streets like Candace, but somebody had her back. But the thing was, the fact that Candace crossed him made him what I guess you could just turn him into a monster. So let me just say this way. From a writing perspective, the next villain is supposed to be bigger and badder than the previous one. So theoretically speaking, Warlock was the bigger villain. Well, I don't even know if I should say bigger villain, but it had the biggest effect on Candace in a way, because that was one of her best allies turned against her. Kind of like, when the Malones turned on Jim, it was kind of like that. But really, Candace did this to herself. I'm not justifying all the physical and sexual abuse that Warlock put Candace through, but she literally did this to herself by lying. So that's all I can say. But at the end of the day, I want to leave it to you all. Who do you think was the bigger villain? And don't forget, though, Warlock, I'm not trying to excuse his actions, but he literally was going to shoot up the entire apartment, despite the fact that Hannah and Quincy were in there as well. But also the fact that he unintentionally killed Quincy Jr. because he was on the phone with Jim. Like, look, I don't know what happened. I didn't know there was a little kid in there. So that's when he was explaining, that Candace's son was dead. But Quincy had his son being watched by his sister, who is negligent, has a bunch of kids already, and his Quincy Jr. was going to die. And I think that's what the doctor said, that if Benny and Hannah did not bring Quincy Jr. to the hospital when they did, there was a good chance he would have been, dead. What do you have? Lupus, not to mention all the physical abuse he had, like the scars and everything on his back, which were infected. Yeah, so long term, Quincy Jr. would have been dead under Quita's care, air quotes. But there's so many factors to look into this. But Also, and again, I keep going on. It's like I want to end this video, but I keep thinking of other things. You know, the fact that Quincy was someone Candace met when she was, you know, pretty much out of the house. But Warlock was somebody that Hannah raised as her own son. So he was almost like a sibling to Benny and Candace. So to actually have, like, for lack of a better phrase, her brother turning against her, yeah, I mean, that's definitely an emotional knee-jerk reaction to that. But Quincy, just the mention of his name was enough to, you know, send Candace into a frenzy. So who do you think was the bigger villain, Warlock or Quincy? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Make sure you take a moment to hit the bell notification icon and the subscribe button, and I will talk to you soon. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.